It is time to welcome the brothers Pay to the podcast. You've heard Connor for about a year now here on this show. We're going to welcome in Trevor and also Austin to the mix, talk a lot of football and their family dynamic amongst three offensive linemen. We'll get to all of it ahead on today's show.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you who are everydayers with us right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This is your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars, and we are brought to you today by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Of course, some terms apply. All right, time to get right to it and welcome in, as I like to call them, the brothers Pay to the podcast. Connor's been a regular on this podcast for quite some time, but we welcome in today his younger brothers, Trevor and Austin. I guess we'll start with Connor and Trevor. How are you guys tonight?
Good. We're doing really good.
Well, thanks for taking the time, and then let's welcome in Austin as well. What's up, Austin?
How's it going?
Doing well. Okay, so I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit on this. Your brother Connor has been on this podcast for almost a year. He's been a great guest, a fan favorite of our listeners here. He mentioned this to me, and Trevor, you'll get a kick out of this about a month ago. He said, hey, when Trevor gets home, I want to get him on the podcast. I also want to get Austin on the podcast, and we'll just all chop it up. So first off, welcome home to you, Trevor, and how is return missionary life treating you?
It's been really good. It's definitely still a little weird. Not being in like the whole missionary mindset every day, but it's been a lot of fun since I've been cleared last week to start football stuff. My body's pretty wrecked, but other than that, it's been really, really good.
It's almost like 2 years not playing football would, cause some issues, right?
Yeah, it makes a little bit of a difference, and not being able to work out just a little bit.
Connor is getting a kick out of this. Now, Austin, you are the youngest, and you're still in high school, obviously, coming up on your senior season at Lone Peak. How is your summer treating you? I know it literally just began for you guys, right?
Yeah, we just started summer ball and doing workouts there, and it's been super fun. Team's looking really good this year, and I'm excited for the season. So
that's awesome to hear. Now, Connor, I'm going to get your thought on this right out the chute. What is it? Is it cool for you to think about? You've got two younger brothers who are kind of following in your footsteps. You're obviously nearing the end of your college career, but is it cool to see these guys doing their thing as well?
Not really. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, it's been pretty fun. I mean, the paths have been a lot different for each of us, and so there's some unique things to it. But thankfully, they've kind of had the red carpet rolled out for them. Thanks to me, naturally, chopping down all these barriers for them, and they just get to walk in the wake and cruise right on up. And no, it's been really good. They've both done a really good job and handling their different circumstances, because all of us are different. Ironically, different sizes, different skill sets, and so it looks a little different for each of us. So that makes it a little more fun, because if it was all the same, that would be really monotonous and really boring. But no, I'm proud of both of them. They've both done a really good job.
Now, Trevor, we just talked about the fact that you just got home from the mission field. Obviously, you're starting to do workouts with the BYU football program. Give us a sense of how those are going in your mind so far.
It's been going really good. It's definitely a big adjustment trying to learn the playbook for sure. It's a lot different than high school, and everything's just a little more intense, a little more upbeat, but it's been really good. Just really trying to soak in as much as I can and just work as hard as I can. So it's been really, really good.
Austin, obviously you are looking up to these two. They're both going to be enrolled at BYU. Give us a sense. You've turned into like this star on the recruiting circuit. I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, but you've had all these official visits and everything that have been scheduled. And Connor's told me about some of the contact you get from just coaches on a daily basis. Give us a sense of how you feel about things and how things are progressing so far on the recruiting trail.
I feel great about everything. It's just, obviously, there's a lot of coaches talking to me. I have a lot of different schools looking at me, and that can be stressful at times. But obviously, I'd rather have all this interest than have none at all. So it's been super fun to learn from all these coaches, and get to build a relationship with them.
How is it, obviously, when you have to go on these official visits and you're going to spend your summer doing a lot of this, but also balancing, getting ready for the upcoming season? How is it striking that balance where you're traveling around the country, but at the same time trying to make sure that you have the senior season you want to have?
I mean, you got to take advantage of every moment you have to work out, honestly, and put time in on the field. So like on these officials, I'll go to hotels or wherever I can, and I'll run and I'll lift just to make sure I'm not getting too fat from only catered food.
Well, that seems to be a smart idea, I would suppose, on that front. Now, I'm going to throw this back at you, Connor. A lot of our listeners have gotten to know you over the past year and change, obviously, just with the frequent visits you've made to the podcast. How are summer workouts going from your perspective overall for BYU?
Good. I mean, obviously, this is my oh man, I don't even know what the number is. I've been here for too long. I think this is my 4th or my 5th time going through summer workouts now. So, I've been through it multiple times, and so, I think this one is different than the rest, and I think in all the right ways. I think just with the new strength staff, this is the first full off season they've had with us, with the whole staff put together, and their program has been awesome. I probably feel better physically right now, and I know I've mentioned this before as we were going through spring ball and stuff like that, but I've progressed and I still feel this way. That this is the best I've felt physically since I've been at BYU. I feel bigger, stronger, more explosive, but also at the same time I feel healthier. So the summer's been really good. This is June. June is kind of the tough month for us. It's kind of a bloodbath, because they push you really, really, really hard up until the end of June, and then they back you down in the month of July a little bit incrementally, so you can get your body back and prepared to start playing football again in fall camp. And so you have to push super, super hard in June so we can get bigger, stronger, faster before we heal up and prepare our bodies for a season.
All right, I'm going to ask this question. I'm sure this is going to get a response from all three of you. Who in your I can't wait for this. Who was the strongest coming out of high school? Now, Austin, you haven't exited high school yet, but I'm imagining you're gonna be in the running here. Who was the strongest coming out of high school in your guys' mind of the three of you?
It was me. I don't even think that's up for debate, actually.
Nah, I'd probably say Connor too.
Yeah, I don't even think that's up for debate.
Austin?
Yeah, Connor.
Okay.
I might bench more than him, but not
That's
squat.
not true. That's not true.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
So were you just a guy who loved to throw around weights, Connor? Was that just something you enjoyed doing, or you feel like you just had that natural strength ability?
I feel like it was more, probably more on the natural side, because I wasn't like huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was by my senior year of high school, I was, played at 305, 310-ish, somewhere in that range. But, like I was still like I was 16, 17 years old as a senior, and you're not a man yet. And so there was, so I think it was just more natural strength, and I always have loved lifting. But I've almost always done it for athletics, not lifting just to lift. And so I don't know. Yeah, I think it kind of just some natural strength a little bit. I think my build is a little different than Austin and Trev's a little bit, and I think that's a little more conducive for throwing heavier weights around. But I don't get up there super high in the weights anymore in training and stuff. Now that I'm older, they stop me and they cap me out.
All right. Well, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I would suppose you can go heavier, but obviously they don't want to injure you. There's no doubt about that. All right. I got a couple more questions. We also threw it out to some of our listeners as well for questions for you guys. We'll dive into those. I do need to get a couple of thoughts from you guys on the upcoming seasons. I'm going to talk about Lone Peak and also BYU. We'll dive into those coming up next. We roll on right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, Game Time is here for you guys no matter what type of event you're trying to go to, whether it's sports, whether it's comedy, whether it's theater, no matter what you're into, they have got the options for you guys. The best time right now is the NBA Finals are ongoing. If you want to get out to those games in Boston or Dallas, you have to be in the area. You can get tickets via our friends at Game Time. The best part is prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. So if you want to get out to those games with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying your NBA tickets, get you out to any event you want to go to, no matter what it might be. The best part is also they have what they call their Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, and you also can see exactly where you're going to be sitting and what the view will be from your seats via the Game Time app. 2 taps, tickets are bought, and you're off on your way to the event you're looking to go to. So take the guesswork out of buying your NBA Finals tickets or any other tickets you're interested in today. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, continuing on now with the Brothers Pay on today's Locked On Cougars podcast. And I want to get a question in here, and I'm going to lob it at Trevor first off, because Trevor, we just mentioned the fact you're just home from a mission. Connor was just talking about the fact that you all have different body types. Now, we all know Austin is the tallest of the bunch, but you're the guy I think BYU fans might know the least about, if that makes sense, because you've been on a mission, obviously, and you just kind of been, I guess, out of sight, out of mind in a way. Can you reintroduce yourself to BYU fans and kind of explain your path to BYU at this point?
Yeah, for sure. I signed with BYU during my senior football season as a preferred walk-on, and it was pretty incredible. I mean, I loved going to camps all throughout high school and doing a bunch of different things, but BYU always really felt like home, especially when Connor was able to come home for my junior and senior year, being able to watch him play, do all these things. BYU was kind of always, for me, I know Connor and Austin looked at a lot of different options, and Austin's still looking, but for me, it was always BYU was my goal. And so when I got that opportunity, I was pretty excited because, I mean, I'm the shortest of the bunch. I own it. Connor always makes fun of me for it, but it's all right. So I just had to learn how to play a little differently than Connor and Austin have learned how to play, and they're both incredible. But just trying to master my technique as best as I could, so that way I could move the bigger guys. Being a smaller body, I still played tackle in high school, but now I'm going to play center here. So it's utilizing the tools that I've been given, and so I feel like I've gotten pretty good now. It's just starting to relearn everything a little bit, just coming back from a 2-year break.
Now, you mentioned that you're the smallest, or I guess the shortest of the bunch, not the smallest of the bunch, or the shortest of the bunch. Do you check in? What height are you at? I know Connor's 6'5", and Austin, what are you, 6'7" now?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm at about 6'2", 6'3".
Okay. So you're the point guard of the bunch, right? Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. I got the best shot too.
Okay, that's actually a question we have from one of our listeners, because we've talked with Connor about this on the podcast about you guys are all ball players, because I know your dad had you guys playing in all kinds of sports, basketball, baseball, and the like. The question was, who wins one-on-one in hoops amongst the three of you? So debate amongst yourselves.
Austin thinks he's good. Austin's not very good.
That's another one that is undeniable.
He hasn't played since I come back. I just played basketball.
I don't think either of them have ever beaten me in one-on-one, ever.
We haven't played in like 4 years. Actual one-on-one.
Trev, you don't want to do that.
Okay, so Austin, do you think you could take these guys?
Oh yeah, I definitely can beat Trevor off the mission, but give him a couple months and it'll be tough. But Connor's pretty good, so that'd be a tough one.
Okay, fair enough.
Austin's too easy. Austin sucks.
Okay, so here's the other question, just related to sports outside of football. Who is the best all-around athlete? And Connor, you're gonna raise your hand, I'm sure, but who's the best all-around athlete in your guys' mind amongst the three?
Again, it's not. I mean, like, this isn't hard. I don't know.
Okay, so
They look at them both hesitating. They look at them, they're both hesitating because they know the answer.
Well, I mean, I won more state championships than Connor did.
here we go. There we go. There, got the
And
rings. Right?
I was on the field in multiple sports or the court more than you were.
Okay, so what sports? So Connor, what sports did you play in high school at varsity?
Football, basketball, and baseball.
Trevor?
And played and contributed in all three.
I did football and baseball for all 3 years, and then basketball for just my sophomore year.
Okay,
that settles that one.
all right. And then Austin, what are you all up to?
I've done football, basketball, and baseball, but basketball just sophomore year.
Okay, so
see, settled. Done.
all right, so Connor has the length, obviously the time, obviously. Okay, so now the other question that comes in here on that side of it is outside of what's going on in football, what are your guys' interests? Connor's been pretty open about his interests. He's a big metal fan and the like. So I want to start with you, Austin. What are your interests away from the field?
Honestly, my biggest hobby now is golf.
Okay.
Connor kind of got me started on it, and I don't know, I just love playing. It's a good place for me to go kind of outside of sports and kind of honestly relax a little bit from all of it. So, yeah.
Be more specific. What type of golf? And be honest. What do you play the most?
The most? I play a little VR golf. Yeah.
There we go.
I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
We're talking like you put the headset on and everything, and you're doing this. Okay.
Every day for so long.
Bro, Trevor, it's like 45 minutes, maybe.
Tell them what your world rank was last week.
80.
Oh my God. See?
You're 80?
He plays so much VR golf. Every time we're at the house, he'll be in the living room with that thing on his head. And he's like swinging and doing all this stuff. And we're like, bro, if you put as much time towards football as you did towards VR golf, you'd be the number one offensive tackle in the country by a mile.
Okay.
You're 80th in the world at VR golf. That's insane.
I can't even imagine being 80th in the world in anything. So, Austin, props to you, sir.
Me neither. Yeah. Me neither. I mean, if you asked the question about the three of us, who is the best VR golfer, I'd be the first to admit Austin's the best by a mile.
Okay, well, here's the question. Connor and Trevor, have you guys played VR golf? Have you played this?
Yeah. A couple times, yeah. Because Austin got his Oculus. We used the Oculus.
Yeah.
Austin got his for Christmas a few years ago, and then I tried it, and I was like, this is actually pretty sweet. So I bought one. And so I play sometimes, but not like a ton. There's mini golf. I love mini golf.
Okay. So here's the other question off of that is, 80th in the world in VR golf. But Austin, honestly, you've got the recruiting profile that beats the pants off both Trevor and Connor, right?
We'll openly admit that. He's the best, the best high school recruiter in the family by a mile.
What's that like, Austin? Obviously, having two brothers who are playing at a Division I university, how's that both helped you and also just kind of let you know what you're looking for when it comes to the school you're going to play for in college?
Well, I mean, having two guys that have done that, I get their knowledge.
Okay.
Right. So I get that experience, and they can come back and teach me. And also, it gets me someone to look up to, and just as an example, they've kind of taught me growing up how to work hard, and also how to play O-line at a high level.
Now, the question, this comes from a good friend of the podcast. His name's Nick, and he just straight up, and this is this question for you, Austin. What are BYU's chances that you could end up in Provo like your brothers?
They're pretty good.
Okay.
Some people have been a little scared because they weren't on my June official list, but I will say I'm planning on taking official there during the season. So.
Well, and that's the thing about it is I've had those people have said, well, he's not on that list. And here's the thing. You're not limited to just 5 anymore, correct? You can take as many as you want.
Yeah.
So are you, how many are you planning all told? Have you made a number that you're going to visit, or is that still to be determined?
Probably to be determined, but I mean, I'll probably take 3, maybe 4 during the season.
Okay. Very cool. So balance it. Obviously you have to balance that with the schedule of your high school schedule. I'm assuming, is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Play a game and then fly out probably.
Okay, very cool. Now, do you have something to say, Connor? Sorry.
No, that sucks. But like it is what it is. Recruiting is different now.
Well, actually, help us understand that, Connor. What's different now versus what you experienced, obviously, because you've been in college for quite a while now. So,
yeah, because I'm in the 2018 class, so it's been multiple years now since I was a high school recruit. But I feel like so much more was predicated on how you did at one like major camp or going to a university's camp, which is still a big deal today. But you look at these kids and they're going to every camp under the sun, and posting like highlights of them doing non-padded one-on-ones on Twitter like every other day. And Austin's a part of this thing called the OFA Academy, where every Saturday the best O lineman and the best D lineman in the state of Utah, go and work out together, do indie, do one-on-ones against each other, like almost on a weekly basis. And it's like there was nothing like that when I was in high school, and like that's like a recruiting tool for them now. And, I have my opinions about non-padded one-on-ones, in high school recruiting. I think we've talked about it before, if I remember right, at some point. I think they're pretty pointless. But it's just how expansive the recruiting world's become, and I think it's almost similar to kind of the NIL space we're in now, in a way, where it's like you've got these random agents, coming out and saying, I can help you get recruited, I can do this, I can do that, just pay me a certain amount of money. Like that wasn't really a big thing either when I was in high school, and so it's it's kind of different just to kind of see that firsthand and watch Austin go through it. And how much is done online now, which coaches would reach out to Twitter and stuff all the time when I was in high school too, but it's on a different level now. So I don't know. It's been kind of interesting to watch it change and watch it evolve.
That brings, I want to ask you this, Austin. We'll get to some other questions here in a minute. How have you balanced all of it? Because obviously I'm sure you've got coaches hitting you up left, right, and center, but how have you been able to balance the whole thing with the attention you're getting while at the same time, trying to balance everything else in your world?
I mean, that's been honestly really tough. I mean, coaches are reaching out all the time, but it's kind of part of it has been I've had to cut some guys for sure and kind of relieve some of that pressure, but it's really focusing on the teams I'm interested in and being very concise with my time and making sure I'm not procrastinating anything. And so just kind of separating every piece out of my life, right? So I'm trying to focus on texting in one and then everything else in another.
How does your dad obviously coaches you at the high school level and also Coach Brockbank there at Lone Peak? How have they helped in that regard?
My dad has honestly been a big help to me. He helps me kind of fill out some of those recruiting texts and help me say the right things, to be honest. He's a big help and kind of my manager in a way. So he's a big help. And then obviously Coach kind of Brockbank communicates with all the coaches who are reaching out. So, yeah.
Now, I also wanted to ask you on that front, when it comes to the attention you're getting and you only do the official visits, how does your dad factor in this? Because he's a former Division I and NFL player, so he's obviously been through the recruiting process. I know it was a while back, but how has he helped in that regard?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing he has done is he's not really putting any pressure on me to go anywhere specific, right? He's letting me go through the process myself, see what I like, and decide where I want to go. And so he's kind of just giving me a few pointers on what to look for, but he's just kind of leaving it to me to make the decision.
I think that's probably the best way to go about it because he's directed two of his boys obviously through the process at this point. He's helping you through it as well. But I got a few more questions as we wrap up this edition of Locked On Cougars. I got a couple of good ones here, more off the field stuff. But we'll get to all that coming up next right here on Locked On Cougars. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you for being with us. If you'd like to ask questions to the Pay brothers here on the podcast, I want to encourage you guys to join our Locked On Cougars Insider group. The link is in the show notes below. Whether you're watching and or listening to this, feel free to join us. And obviously, we'll get more of these questions in. You'll be able to insert some of your questions of your own. I got a good question here, though. Obviously, Connor, you talked about the non-padded deal when it comes to highlights. But Danny asked this. Who is the hardest hitter of the three when it comes to actually being in pads on the football field? Anybody want to
that's not. I don't think that. That's. I don't know if that's a fair question.
Okay.
That's kind of impossible to compare right now because we're all different ages. And
Sure.
so it's like, obviously, I hit the hardest right now because I'm the oldest and I'm the biggest.
Okay.
You know, so it's like, that's hard to compare because then it's like, what am I comparing it to? An RM that hasn't hit anybody yet, and then to a 17-year-old? Like, that's a little different. That's kind of hard to compare. So I think if it's just pure force, obviously, biggest, strongest guys hitting each other are going to produce the most force. So,
Okay,
so that's fair. Even though I think it would have been me regardless, but
okay.
It's a common theme I'm noticing.
It's okay. Now, Trevor, obviously you're fresh off the boat, as they like to say about return missionaries. What is the return missionary workout regimen for you as a BYU football player? And what does it entail, and how is it different maybe from some of the guys like your brother Connor who have been in the program for some time?
Yeah, so they really just do a really good job of taking us super slow, just walking us through the process. So what I'm on is just like a 2-week kind of, I don't know the word, but build up to getting to where the team is. So they just have a coach with me all the time, watching us, walking us through the warm-ups, workouts. They kind of limit some of the weight that we do so we don't overdo it and get hurt because it's pretty easy fresh off the mish. And so they have it pretty locked in, and it's been really nice. My body's still pretty wrecked every day from these workouts. I haven't done any of them in so long, but they're pretty amazing at helping us just really get back into it.
The other question that came in from David, and he said, traditionally, return missionaries will have lost weight and obviously will have to get back to the weight they need to play at. Where are you at with regards to where you'd like to play at your playing weight as it is?
Yeah, I came back at around 275. I left on my mission at 260. I played at 280 in high school.
Okay.
Losing a little bit of weight, so gained some of it back. But I want to play around 290, 295. I think with my height and just the leverage, I think that's a really good weight. They haven't told me anything specific yet, so I need to talk more with the trainers and with Coach Woods to figure out what that exactly is going to be. But I think right around the 290, 295 range for sure.
I want to ask you this. Obviously, we've talked to Connor a lot about Coach Woods and how pivotal he was in keeping Connor at BYU. What have been your initial impressions of Coach Woods since you got on campus?
He's amazing. He's awesome. He's just such a personable guy. You can talk to him for forever. He's super funny, but he's also just a master technician. The way he explains things and the way he talks to us and helps us understand the technique, especially for me coming back and really trying to relearn how to do all of that. It's a little different than how I was coached in high school. And so he just is really patient, especially with me being so young and so new to all of this. But it's been a pretty incredible couple of weeks being able to have that college coaching for sure.
Now, Austin, you're being recruited by Coach Woods, so I want your impression as a recruit who interacts with Coach Woods. What's it been like to talk with him?
Again, like Trevor, he's very personable, and he's a very chill guy who wants to just know about your life in general. So, like, we'll get on, we'll talk together, and he just ask me questions about my life. And then I also really think right now I've liked him as a coach as well, and obviously I'm going to go through the whole process with it, but he's definitely very intriguing as a coach.
That's good to hear. All right. So question here, and this was directed at Connor, but I want to get both Trevor and Austin's reaction to this. I think all of you know that the new EA Sports College Football 25 is coming out pretty soon. The question was sent in. I'll get your thought on this first, Connor. It came in from Jake, by the way. He says this, can you ask Connor what he made of the clip of Jacob Robinson intercepting that pass against West Virginia that was shown in the trailer?
That was pretty sweet. I mean, I think I saw it on. I think I was just on Twitter or something, or maybe it was Instagram. Because I think obviously once it happened, J-Rob reposted it and stuff. I may have seen it through that, but I was kind of watching the clip, and like my first thought was like, hey, the game looks pretty sweet. Like it looks really good, and like the movement looks different than Madden, which like I'm a fan of. It's like Madden, I'm gonna throw it in the trash, but. Obviously, the situation and the score a little unrealistic for what happened against West Virginia. Clearly, just get that out of the way now. Obviously, a little different. But like it was pretty. I mean, obviously to be featured like that for J-Rob is pretty sweet. You know, to have because one of the few clips of the new game circulating around, and so that got reposted all over the place because people wanted to take a peek and at what the gameplay was going to be like and stuff. And so for J-Rob to be highlighted on that was pretty sweet.
How excited are you? I'm going to get Trevor here in a moment, Trevor and Austin in a moment, but how excited are you to finally see yourself in that video game?
I mean, I don't know. I get to stare at my butt, watch myself bend over, and you know, do not a lot, you know, the rest of the time. So it's like, I mean, it'll be pretty sweet. You're like, hey, that's me. You know, I'm in a video game. But I mean, it's probably gonna be a lot more fun for like Jake and Gary or for LJ or for one of the receivers or someone who gets to actually like do stuff in the game. So, but no, it'll definitely be really cool. It'll definitely be really cool to see yourself in a video game. I think like every little kid who loves sports and loves like the NBA 2K games or Madden, or the MLB the shows, you know, and wants to play sports at a high level, you know, you always kind of have that dream or envision yourself in a video game. You know, obviously, I didn't envision myself in this role, you know, when I was a kid, but it's gonna be pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited for it. Just as like a it's just like something to look back on, like a memory, like things like that I can look back in 20 years and have my copy of the game and be like, I was in this. I think that'll be a pretty fun thing.
Well, and that brings me to you, Trevor. Obviously, your career is literally just beginning, and based on how everything sounds, this game's going to be part of an annual tradition again. I'm a kid. I'll admit, I owned every version from 1999 through 2014 when it came out, and I played every version of it. I wore out more copies than I should have. So, Austin, I got your back in terms of like wearing out a video game. I trust me, I did plenty of that. But for you, Trevor, obviously you have a chance now over the next 3, 4, 5 years, depending on how long you're at BYU for, to be potentially in that game. How exciting is that for you as a guy coming into BYU?
I think it's super cool. I mean, for a lot of the same reasons that we were the same way. We had all the NCAA games growing up. NCAA football 14 was like, I don't know, at least for me and Carr, that was like our all-time like favorite
the highest tier.
Like,
it is.
We would play that together so much. I mean, even though Connor's overall is going to be like 50 in the new game, it'll be okay. It'll be cool to see him, and then hopefully I'll get a little higher than the next couple seasons. But we'll see how it goes. It's pretty cool.
After last year, maybe.
Well, that's the thing about that is the ratings they haven't released them yet, and they've put out some of those trailers that have showed ratings of different guys, and some guys have taken
had our offense at an 87, and I was like,
have you seen? Yeah, exactly.
87, I was like, all right.
That means
it's based off of 2023. I don't know what's going on, but
it's because of all your hard work behind the scenes.
It's a protection for the future, I think. They're really trying to be authentic to 2024. That's what our offense is going to be like in 2024.
Hey, that's what we like to hear. Now, Austin, you're a younger buck. Did you ever play these games growing up, or are you too young to have played them?
Oh, I played NCAA 14 all the time. That was one of my favorite games for sure.
So you're at least familiar with it, and does that excite you? The fact that whenever you obviously mission and everything that is still to be determined, but is that exciting to you to know that during your college career you'll see yourself in that video game?
I mean, yeah, like Connor said, for sure that'd be really cool. Just kind of look back on and see that, and then NCAA, the game, like that's pretty sick, especially like growing up playing it and seeing other players that you could kind of recognize that didn't have their names on them. But I mean, that would be really cool.
All right. So last question before we wrap this up. This comes from Andy, and he wants a response from all three of you. I'm going to start with you, Austin, on this one. Who is your favorite player that plays for BYU, if there's one historically, beside your brother, of course?
Historically, my favorite player growing up was always Taysom Hill.
Okay.
I love Taysom Hill. So, yeah.
I don't think you're alone in that assessment. Taysom was absolutely incredible. All right, Trevor, your response.
That's a good question. Because we had a good relationship with him. I love watching James Empty, one of my favorites. And then Ziggy also was so fun to watch. We have our family had goal line tickets. Tickets all growing up, and so just being able to watch him was super fun.
Okay, Ziggy. Connor, you got one?
Yeah, he stole mine. I was gonna say Ziggy, kind of just like my earliest memories of BYU football, and sitting in the north end zone on the third row, which is where we kind of always sat.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time watching Ziggy run down on kickoff, and he was like the first guy down there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I watched him make a tackle, and I don't remember how old I was when Ziggy was playing, probably 11 or 12, maybe even younger, but I remember just like looking at my dad and I'm like, that guy's giant. And like he just beat everybody down the field, and it ended up being Ziggy, and like, yeah, that's a defensive end. That's a 270-pound DN. And so yeah, I think he's one of the freakiest athletes. Him and Kyle Venelay are kind of two of the freakiest athletes to come through BYU. And so I always loved watching Ziggy growing up.
Well, I can tell you your father's going to be very disappointed that none of the three of you picked him. I'm going to just say that right now.
Well, none of us have watched him play. And all we've heard
he
is
would try and show us clips, and it's like, I can't even see you.
Yeah, like the clips were so old, and the O-line play was so poor that it was just so hard to watch. And so we were like, Dad, just gotta turn this off.
Okay.
It doesn't even resemble what we do now. So,
all right.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. None of us watched him play. So it's kind of hard to say, like, hey, that's my favorite BYU player ever. It's like, I have no idea who he is as a BYU player. I never watched him. So, he's a great dad, great coach.
Well, hey, Ziggy and Taysom, I think, are two very, very good submissions on those names there. But I want to thank all three of you for taking the time. It was awesome to get all three Pay brothers on the same podcast. I'm glad Connor was able to wrangle the other two, because I kind of sicked them on you, Trevor and Austin, to make this happen. But anything else you guys want to pass along to Cougar Nation before we wrap it up here?
Austin, what do you got to say?
Nothing. I don't know.
Well, he's going to make the official visit during the season, so that's good enough. I think Cougar fans are excited to hear that alone. So there you go.
Yeah, I know. Twitter was having a little freak out because they can't read.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
Nothing. I'm just excited to be a Cougar. It's the dream, so I'm really excited.
Fair enough. Connor?
Well, no, it's going to be a really good summer, and the field's coming in finally. We have the grass down in the stadium. It looks awesome. I love getting brand new grass and then building a concert on it 3 weeks later. That's going to be great for it. And then, I know I've talked a lot of crap during the podcast about how I'm the best at everything, which is true. But, no, just Trevor and Austin are awesome, man. And they can beat me at some things. But I just have to constantly remind them that God had me born first for a reason. Oldest boy, birthright, all that scriptural stuff. That's me. And so, but no, hopefully, I hope both of them can be better players and better people than I ever will be. And, I think in a lot of ways, both of them already are. So, I just had to say that because I've been talking so much crap. I don't want people to think that I hate them or something, or just have to win or be right at everything and stuff. We like to have fun together and we're competitive. So, but they are. I have to admit, they are pretty awesome.
Well, it's a healthy sibling rivalry. Let's just put it that way. I think most people can appreciate that. So thank you to all three of you for taking the time, and let's do this again down the road. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. That's Austin, Connor, and Trevor Pay. A big thank you to all three of them for taking the time. I want to remind you guys, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen today. Thank you to all of you once again for being everydayers here on the podcast. And we will be back tomorrow, wrapping up the week here on the show. So big thank you once again for making it your first listen of the day. And once again, for making it a part of your day right here on Locked On Cougars.